Disruption is a word that's always thrown around, but it's the bold who actually go and do it. Hi, my name is Sheetal Jaitly. I'm the CEO of TribalScale. We build innovative digital products at TribalScale, and I'm an avid investor and startup creator. I sit on the cap table of over 50 companies and I've created 6. Through my experience when expanding into the Canadian market is the first thing you're going to realize that it is very risk adverse. So it's very important for you to go out there and try to establish credibility and do that through knowledge, do that through thought leadership and push that towards your audience so that you become the expert here in the Canadian market so that the Canadian buyer actually wants to come to you. The regulatory environment here in Canada is very similar to Europe. It's there is a lot of regulation and there is a lot of rules that you gotta go by. But one thing I will say is that innovation always comes from within. And so start to innovate, start to be disruptive. And if regulations aren't making sense the right way, then start voicing your opinion. I think it's very important for innovators not to get stuck in their own box put on by regulators, but actually to push the boundaries of innovation and have that regulatory capture become something that is actually beneficial. So an example would be, I have, let's say, a payment app and I have to follow certain regulations. And if I revolutionize the way to do peer-to-peer payments and still be able to fulfill what's happening in the regulatory market, then I want to push the boundaries of being able to do that and speak to the regulators on why my way is actually efficient and beneficial for the population. Find out why that regulation is there and then serve that purpose as to why it's there and solve that problem as opposed to just being caught in the regulatory framework. One of the best ways to actually capture the Canadian market when coming from a place like Europe is leverage your experience that you've had in Europe. Start bringing those parallels into why it's important to the Canadian market. There could be things you were ahead of in Europe and you've seen in Europe that's only starting to happen here in Canada. So become the expert in that domain and go and start pushing that narrative out to the people here. The second thing I would actually do is capture friendlies and capture your network here in Canada through people that you may have done business with in Europe who have connections over here, or with the people you are meeting here to actually become the thought leader. One of the areas where I've seen this really work well is in the crypto community. I've seen a lot of crypto companies come to Canada to capture this market, and they've actually leveraged their experience and their hustle of how they made it work in their home countries and started bringing that thought leadership and that knowledge here to make it expand in this country and show the Canadians here that it can be done, and here's how we're going to go and do it. I think it's great that we have a ecosystem here in Canada with incubators. One of the big hurdles is coming as a company from somewhere else into a new geography. It's very hard to get the eyes and ears of your audience, and these incubators play a great role because they become the filter for corporate Canada to actually see that, hey, this company is already in this incubator. I should actually give them some credibility and listen to them. And that is a great way to get eyeballs and ears towards your company. The rest is going to be up to you on how you actually go and show them how you're going to be a value add to that company. Disruption is a word that's always thrown around, but it's the bold who actually go and do it. And you know, Steve Jobs, as everybody knows, was able to do this with the iPhone. And more importantly, I would say he did it with the App Store because he had that vision. Be bold with what you're doing. Don't do anything that's like 50% of the way, 75% of the way there. Be very bold in your opinion and test the market to see how it's going to respond. We see a lot of innovators come into other geographies and try to adapt to that country's norms. I say the opposite. I really want you to come out here and start showing how you're going to be the leader of the pack, not someone who's going to be just in the pack. One of the biggest things I learned as a co-founder and CEO throughout my career is you got a little voice in your head, and you're going to read a lot of business books, and you're going to hear from other mentors, and you're going to go hear a lot of talks and know that 90% of it's all rubbish. You got a little voice in your head that knows what the right move is going to be. That's going to be the next move that you should go and do. In my experience, when we were growing super fast, 100% year over year growth and had teams growing everywhere, I knew and felt inside something was wrong, and I was miserable inside, but always heard from everyone that, hey, congratulations, everything's going so well, you're onto it. No, that little voice in my head was right, because it could come crumbling down on you right away. Always trust in yourself, and know as a founder, put feelings, emotions, relationships, everything aside, and focus on the one thing that's most important, and that is your business and how you're going to project that and move that forward the right way, and the right way is your way.